Okay, Tuesday, 10th of December, 2024. So Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Travel Tuesday. Travel more. I spent 1 month in El Salvador, and here is what I saw. Now, I really wanted to go there for myself to see with my own eyes what was happening on the ground there. To see everything. The culture, the people, the place, everything. Infrastructure, food, cuisine, you name it. Everything with my own eyes. I'd heard a few things about it in the past, so I thought I wanted to see it with my own eyes. Going beyond just the tweets and the videos, but to go there, to see it and experience it. And that was very important. And a month, because a month is a good amount of time to spend a lot of time here, there, in general. Of course, the more the merrier, but a month is a good starting point. And what had happened there is arguably nothing short of a miracle. A complete transformation of society. It's in the early stages of a revolution and an evolution. The early stages, the early fragile stages of what's happening there. The security problem was solved big time, and that gave everyone else the room and chance, opportunity, safety, security to do everything else. You solve this problem, this question, this dilemma of security, and everything else is slowly falling into place. Investment, tourism, culture, events, travel, domestic tourism, as well as international tourism, confidence, happiness, and beyond. Consistently, as I was speaking to people there in Spanish, they were telling me that the situation, the security, was the biggest thing that happened. Biggest change. When I asked them what was happening in the country, what can you tell me about here or tell me about there, 9 times out of 10 they would leap straight away to security, and they would say and advocate how amazing it is and how much has changed and how better it is. I went all over the city and I saw all kinds of things: north, south, east, west, southeast, and beyond. Santa Tecla. I went to Soyapango. You talk to anyone who's local or native there about Soyapango in San Salvador, East San Salvador, and they will tell you it was dangerous. It used to be dangerous, and not to go there. I went there, among other places, to see it for myself. And a testament to the level of security. On at least two different occasions, including Soyapango, so 3, I was walking in the streets, no problems. One time, walking at 1 a.m. for roughly an hour through the city, from Zona Rosa all the way north to Colonia Escalon, 1 a.m., 1 hour's walk, 1 hour and 10, no problems. Once, near the end of my stay there, I was going from Colonia Escalon to somewhere just in the southwestern centre, to an event. 30-40 minutes walking, something like that. 30-40 minutes back, no problems. Yeah, I saw people here and there, but no one spoke to me, nothing happened. Generally quite well lit, very nice. No problems. When I went to Soyapango, I went to Mundo Plaza, World Plaza. 40-minute walk straight through the neighbourhood to a Super Selectos, a big supermarket in the north side. Very busy. And then a lot of traffic, a lot of street vendors. And then walking through a neighbourhood, barrio neighbourhood, no problems. No one even spoke to me. Some people were looking at me. I guess they were very surprised to see a foreigner walking through their part of the city, but no problems. And this was during the day. These two were during the night. One was at 1 a.m. The other one was, call it 11 p.m., 7 p.m., and then say 11 p.m. or something like that, just before midnight, around that time. No problems, no problems, no problems. That is a testament to the level of security. That's what I saw with my own eyes. And that's a testament to what happened there, in a sense of nothing short of a miracle. You solve that, you solve the security issue, everything else falls into place. Now, what was also fascinating was that generally, from my Airbnb, there was a lot of construction going off. I could see 3 construction sites in the city. That's a good sign to show growth, to show things happening, things moving upwards and onwards. Not far from the city centre, not far from the historical centre, there was a construction site for a new hospital, Rosales, something like that. Very encouraging. Those construction sites, and I think a 4th one, which was a bit tucked away, and the hospital. That's very encouraging. Growth, development, things being built, development. However, it's interesting to note that the streets in general were in bad condition. not the best, not the tidiest, not the level, not not even, and rubbish here and there. Now I don't know the details, but I heard it was because there was a dustbin man, a rubbish man, garbage man strike at the time. Don't know the details, don't know, but I saw rubbish. I remember going to one neighbourhood, not far from the city centre. A strange name, T something a bit long. I can't remember the name exactly. There were 2 or 4 policemen outside the entry where I went to, and children playing outside. And this is during the day. This is what, 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Yeah. I walked through the neighbourhood. A little short walk, little turn left. Well, I'm outside the neighbourhood. Went back inside, no problems. Not right next to, well, they used to say, there used to be dangerous there. That's why there's still police. Now, right next to the centre historical centre, there were these 1 or 2 little outdoor markets, market stalls and a big roof or so. And I was told that it used to be so dangerous that you walk inside, you wouldn't get out. Yet I walked in, say 3 or 4 times, in and out, no problems. In and out, no problems. One time, I remember, or 2 occasions, walking from city centre to this little petrol station, maybe a kilometre or so out from the city centre, just to get an Uber, a bit less traffic, things like that easier. No problems. No problems. And this is what? Midnight, let's say. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., that kind of time. No problems. Consistently, no problems. Now, what was interesting also is that the average wage there, the average monthly wage, was $350. Very low, but about right for a Central American country. I would really like to see 2 things. The average wage increased a lot. Then there's more wealth. More wealth means more luxuries. More luxuries means nicer stuff to buy, which is important. Because prices in there, Super Selectos, a supermarket, was a bit expensive. So a higher price, higher wage, in general, fair enough. And a metro. There really wasn't much public transport. Ubers abound. No problems. Very nice. And a bit of a walkable city, depending on distance, whatever else. For me, no problems. Because at least once I walked from where I was staying to Centre Historical Centre, twice actually, kind of unintentionally. So underground, I'd like to see that. Uber, walking, cars, buses, and motorcycles. Main transportation. Public transportation, basically non-existent. No trams, nothing like that. Not even those shared bicycles that you would see in other big cities, like London, for example. None of those. Uber. So you have to really be ready to use Uber at a moment's notice. And also there was an alternative to Uber. There was InDrive, which is a more, I think, a local one, but much cheaper. I never used it, but Uber. Yes. To get around the place. Very easy. So you need a car or motorcycle or Uber or use the bus. And the bus was 35 cents. Very cheap. But Uber was generally $5, $3, $2, depending on where you're going in the city. So you can see a big difference. 35 cents for a bus or $1 or $2 or $3 or $5 for Uber. Fair enough. But I would like to see a metro. Now, someone told me, I heard different things. Someone told me 10 years. Someone told me never. Someone told me very difficult or almost impossible because of the earthquakes. And yet there's other cities on the same ring of fire where the volcano, the earthquakes are, like in Quito, Ecuador, that have got underground. So it's possible. But then also, San Salvador is not level. It's at an angle. The east side of the city is in the lower part, downhill, and the west side, upper hill. Fair enough. So, of course, the underground would be at an angle and it would be difficult and expensive, whatever else. So, underground would be nice. What I also noticed, and also higher average wages. What I also noticed was that prices there were generally expensive in the Super Selectos. Now, that's interesting because that shows in economics, the higher the price of something is, that there's a signal for the market to say, make more of this, make more of this. So as the price, say, bacon is expensive, it's a signal, and people buy the stuff. It's a signal to say, make more of this, produce more of this. And then over time, for more production and consistent and growing demand, the price will go down. So that was a mixed signal, I could see. So average wage as well is important. So cheaper things. There wasn't very many luxuries. Not too many central shopping centres. I can think of Millennium Plaza and World Plaza and Plaza Futura. But Plaza Futura is quite small. So not very many luxury things to go to. A little expensive, not very many places to go to, not very luxuries. But okay, fine, because a population of 500,000, 550,000, it's a bit small, but it's pretty nice. Now I also noticed while walking the city, Centre Historical was quite well developed. Good infrastructure, a lot of security. That was quite consistent as well across the city. Different places, petrol stations, shopping centres, whatever else. Security, 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 security. Armed security. Restaurants, security. Very consistent. Fair enough. Private security. So the centre was quite well developed. And I noticed consistently there's always a different event going off there. One time there was this basketball event. Another time there was this ice rink. I saw some videos. Well, as I was leaving, there was this big Christmas tree being built there, being set up. Very nice. I remember, so the Christmas stuff happening there, and I saw some videos recently of things happening there. So that, but also what I noticed that literally there's this big library, Centre Plaza, big library, 24/7, cathedral, National Palace, and I can't remember another church I guess opposite. Literally other side of these streets, literally behind the library, the neighbourhoods all around a bit rough, not well developed. Not well developed. Now you could say further this way, towards the petrol station, there were some roads being built and more construction happening. So you could say, oh, one street at a time. But then again, it kind of goes into that thesis where it's developing, it's growing, things are happening. But still, across the road, scruffy. Bad condition. This side of the road, beautiful, well lit up. A lot of police, a lot of people, very busy, which is nice. So that's interesting. Now, with the Bitcoin thing, that's very interesting as well. So, within reason, I think everyone accepted it. But when I was talking to people, I didn't mention it. When asking them the city, what can they tell me about here, and the right direction, the country, things like that, I wanted them to mention Bitcoin. I wanted them to be authentic, not me imposing on them and me mentioning it. I wanted to keep it as broad as possible so they bring it up, they talk about it, they mention it. But it didn't happen, very, very rarely. Anyway, organically, it came up once or twice in conversations, but fleeting. Okay, that's good and bad, because I saw a statistic that said 7% of the people there use Bitcoin. Now, you could say 7%, single digits, what's that? Nothing. But when in doubt, zoom out. 7% compared to 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You say that to someone 10 years ago, and put it in perspective. You say that to someone in the Bitcoin space 10 years ago, and that's astronomical numbers. A country, legal tender, 7% adoption, whoa. But remember, 7% is infinitely better than 6, infinitely better than 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Not as good as 8%, of course, or 9%, or 10%, or double digits. But it's progress, that's the key thing there. It's progress. Now, I didn't particularly ask in places. I wanted to see evidence of it. But I heard it was basically accepted everywhere. I saw it sporadically here and there. We accept Bitcoin. Bitcoin accepted here. In Starbucks, I saw something like this. This machine is only for Bitcoin. Something akin to that. I was in one little town, southeast of San Salvador. Ochelita. Ochelita? I always forget, it's written down. Ochelita. Something like that. For a pupusa event, oddly enough. Okay. And there was one shop there that said, we accept Bitcoin. A little corner shop, a little convenience shop. And then right outside, there was a car that said Bitcoin, and on the bumper, the back of the car, there's a sticker. Bitcoin is hope. Interesting. So you never know what you're going to see in anywhere, really. You never know what's going to happen. That's powerful. But when I was talking to the locals, they didn't really mention it. Now, I saw a video on X that on the Christmas tree in Centro Historico, in that big Christmas tree, it was green and it had the Bitcoin logo on it. That's interesting. Very interesting. Now, I also went to Ozonte. I recorded a video while I was there as well about never sell your Bitcoin. An interesting topic. And the coast is very different from the city. Very touristy, a lot of traffic, and things happening here and there, construction work going off here and there. Yeah, touristy, things like that. Nice place, property, yeah, I can see it. House being built here, derelict looking building here. Locals are very poor. shanties, whatever else, akin to that. Very normal. Going here, going there. Okay, not bad. Big Bitcoin adoption there. Very good, amazing. And throughout the city, it was here and there, sporadic. I could see signs every now and then saying we accept Bitcoin here and there. I saw it once or twice in the city centre, and I saw the Chivo wallets. There's like a big little portable office in the city centre as well, where you can take your dollars and buy Bitcoin straight away from an ATM. Powerful stuff. Very good. Very nice. Okay, now there's two interesting things I'm conscious of in the future. One with Bitcoin, and two, security, which stems from politics, so president and presidential election. Now, what I'm worried about, generally speaking, is that in the future, a president, let's say 2029, this will be election, 2034, 2039, so every 5 years, 29 and 9 and 4. So I'm generally worried that in, say, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, someone in power will say, that Bitcoin law, let's repeal it. It'll lose its competitive advantage, which I'll explain in the presidential part, because that's to do with the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin stockpiling over there, the Bitcoin hodling in El Salvador, which is interesting as well. Now, it's nothing. What's to say that in the future, some president or parliament, whatever, says that Bitcoin law, repeal it. Okay, but also at the same time, what's stopping a president in the future saying the criminals, the gangs, we were too rough on them, too strict, release 1,000 from prison. And that risks putting the revolution, as I said, at jeopardy, where it could go back a step. Because remember, as I said, it's the early stages of a revolution and evolution. I'll get onto that later. That's evolution, literally, the mind, evolution. It's fragile, early stages. Because in the future, who knows who could just undo the laws and risk going back to what it used to be like. Who knows? So then I say, right, well, what's to say the Bitcoin laws could be repealed? Well, okay, but the longer those laws are in place, the deeper the culture and the more the money will go into the country. So therefore the political will be weaker against it, because the political will to maintain the Bitcoin laws will be so strong, getting stronger over time. The lobbying, the influence, the culture, who knows what else, the education will permeate, and it'll be less economically viable to repeal it. But still, it's a risk factor. Another thing, as I said, is the gang members. What's stopping another president in the future saying, we'll release 1,000, we're too strict, back in society? Now, it's possible. It's a risk factor. And those two can risk reverting and undoing the revolution that's happening there. Okay. Now, other thing to consider is the president himself. Because I heard that it's only possible to have one presidential term there. Not 2, not 3, and beyond. Now, I don't know how. I heard through a loophole, but I don't know the details. A second term. He got a second term. And within reason, in 2029, he'll win again a third term until 2034. That's fine. That's good. Amazing. Great. Because it means these policies will continue. The Bitcoin and the gangs continue for another 5, 10, 15, another 5, 10 or so years. That's great. Consistency and clarity for the markets. Perfect. Okay. Now, then you can say, well, who... There's opposition parties. Who in the future, let's say 15, 20, 30 years from now, who will be the president then? Now, of course, that's a long time, but still. And will they continue these policies? The criminals and Bitcoin and other favourable things like that. Who knows? It's into the future, 10, 20 years, 30 years. But then I asked someone, and they said, well, Naib's brother could be president. His wife could be president. That's good, because then they'll be likely sympathetic to the cause and have similar ideas and continue with it. That's great. That's really good way into the future. However, that's good and bad. Clarity and consistency, but at the same time, it risks creating a dynasty, a political family. Just like the Trump family, Obama family, Bush family, Clinton family. Okay, that's good and bad. The problem you get then, you get very centralised power, which opens the door to corruption, nepotism, inefficiencies, things like that. Because you could also argue, mathematically speaking, that the longer this thing goes on for, the presidency, anything really, the longer it goes on for, the more mistakes and errors there will be along the way, small things here and there that will accumulate and compound. Entropy, basically. So then you could say, well, as the family, as a dynasty gets more and more power, what could happen? I don't know. I don't know the political scene well enough, or the culture, or whatever else, what's happening there. I also remember talk about the mayor of San Salvador was not doing a particularly good job, or people didn't like him, all of his results were because of Naive, as opposed to this new city mayor instead. Don't know the details, but still, nonetheless. Now that brings me on also to the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, or this Bitcoin hodling that's going on there. Because they have around 6,000 Bitcoin or so, 5,000 something or other. And it's roughly 600 million, I want to say. It must be. 600 million US dollars unrealized profits. Okay, great. So good successful trade. You bought at this price and now it's up here. Very good. Now I like to think pragmatically. I did a video about this as well. Never sell your Bitcoin, but do what? Do something smarter or better instead. Because you could say then, this country, the government, the public sector, is sat on 600 million US dollars of unrealized profits. And what are you going to do with that cash? Now, you can do nothing with it and let it just gather dust for the next 100 years. That's very viable, doing nothing. Or use it in some fashion. Now, I imagine what's a more practical way. Well, actually, what's happening behind the scenes with the El Salvadorian government and countless other companies around the world, they have this Bitcoin on their balance sheet and they're figuring out ways what to do with it. It gives this liquidity, this purchasing power. Because the math says never sell. So what are they going to do with it? And then again, what's to stop a president 15, 20, 30 years from now from selling it? Selling 10% every year, for example. What's stopping that? I don't know enough, but it's a risk factor. Okay, how's that going to change things? I don't know, 20 years from now, who knows? It's a risk factor. Then you could say, well, what's the government doing with that unrealized profits? Now you could say, well, they're using it to as a collateral against loans with IMF or increasing credit rating and the bond market. The bonds are getting better, things like that. So there's all sorts of nuance out there. But as a practical matter, what's happening with it? I don't know. But that's an interesting conversation. And also, again, 20 years from now, what's to say some other president in the future, we're going to sell off 10% a year. It's a risk factor, things to consider. And then, so dynasty and Bitcoin. Now, what I also noticed, well, the community and evolution. What I noticed while I was walking around Soyapanga was that what actually happened there is a forced evolution, a societal evolution. Because what they did was they removed the criminal elements from society. Those people who were genetically had a predisposition and inclined to violence, disagreeableness, aggression, whatever else, murder, things like that. Those people were removed from society, just severed from society, which then means that the people who are left are the more peaceable, more amicable kind of people, more law-abiding people, by definition. Now, what needs to happen is that in 20 years from now, people who are born today, for them, 20 years from now, it has to be social taboo. It has to be economically unviable. It has to be bring dishonor. It has to be a bad idea. It has to be a stupid idea. It has to be unworthy idea to join a gang 20 years from now. Because again, you risk sliding back into what El Salvador used to be like. So for them, in 20 years from now, it has to be unviable. People who are born today, 20 years from now, 22 years from now, a generation, it has to be unviable for them to join the gang. Why would they? Because there's good employment, good money, and average wage, whatever else, and good country, a lot of cheap things, whatever else. Why would they join the gang? 20 years from now. 15, 20, 25 years from now. People who are born today. That's important. So what's happening then is, and this is a social change, it will take a generation or two, yeah, I suspect. You've removed the criminal elements from society so that people who are more amicable, more law-abiding, they have to reproduce, basically. So then the law-abiding people have to be the critical mass, the absolute critical mass of society, and the criminal elements are the absolute minority and dwindling, because age and time, but also because of economics, fewer people are joining them anyway, so they get fewer recruits. So it's really stifling their preeminence in society. They're not present in society, which means that society generally gets better because there's more people who are law-abiding and kind, amicable, and polite, and whatever else, genetically speaking, and that's going to take a generation, and that's profound. That's kind of where that miracle side comes into it, because you're changing the pure fabric of society, by changing the kind of people, literally the kind of people who are there. That's amazing. That's extremely profound, and that's why I say you solve the security problem. Everything else falls into place. And it'll take decades to see things like that unfold, and decades for things like underground to be built, and a decade or two or something for the average wage, not the minimum wage, the average wage to double, triple, things like that. Yeah, it'll take time. That's why I say it's the early stages of a revolution. It's got room to grow. Again, that hospital I mentioned, and the construction sites I could see from Airbnb, things are happening there. So it's amazing, it's powerful. And community. What was amazing is that the level of community, the Bitcoin community, was incredibly strong, incredibly unified, and I could feel it almost instantly as I got there. The collaborative nature there was through the roof. It was amazing. People willing to do stuff and work and collaborate, and videos and whatever else, and content and conferences and whatever else. Because when I went there was a conference going off, but I thought, well, I'm here to check out the city, check out the culture, the people, the place, everything else, and eventually check out, and on the side check out the community. And I'm glad I did. I did just enough to understand this is a strong community, very unified, all kinds of people there, Canadians, Americans, Greeks, Spanish, all sorts of people there in the city, in the expat, the Bitcoin community. That's powerful. That's good. Hey, because it means connections, network. Because I fully, and this is a little off topic, I fully realized and internalized that your network is your net worth. You know more people, you get more stuff done. That's really, really powerful. And also in Latin America, generally, it's quite decentralized. So it's kind of a place where it's who you know as well. That's being known, and who you know is important as well. So it's quite important. That was very powerful, very unique, because it was very easy to meet new people. And because you have this common topic in hand, in general, Bitcoin, and you speak English as well, it's very easy to meet new people. Very powerful, very easy, amazing, absolutely amazing. So that, amazing, powerful. And yeah, that's the majority of it. And overall, I've got no regrets. I'm extremely happy I went there. Extremely happy with what I saw, what I experienced, where I went, what I did, all parts of the city. Here, there, Santa Tecla, Mexicanos in the north, La Zona Rosa in the south, and Santa Tecla, Cuscatlán in the south, Park Cuscatlán, Centro Histórico, Soyapango, things like that. Yeah, the coast, La Tunga, Surf City, El Zonte. Very happy I went to these places. Very happy, just in general, in terms of travelling. Extremely happy I went there. Extremely happy I pushed to go there. I pushed to do and see things. And amazing. Absolutely amazing. And no regrets. No regrets with travelling and talking to people. Puerto del Diablo in the south, along near the coast, some hills and mountains. Yeah, a bit foggy that day, but yeah, nice. So yeah, I'm extremely happy I went there and looked, saw, went here, went there, pictures, and analysed and thought and deciphered, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And it seems to be the place to be if you want to go for the roll of the dice. All these things add up, taking the risk factors, the culture, the community, the infrastructure, and where it is now, and the leadership, combined with room to grow, because the infrastructure project, because I remember hearing about in the east, and I think in the west, there was some road infrastructure projects going off, and someone told me about a road between the west road between San Salvador and somewhere else, I forgot where, in Spanish, La Ruta de Flores, so the route of flowers, heavy traffic, and they were building another road somewhere nearby. And again, you're going to see these infrastructure projects because now it's more viable. No security issues. That people are more willing and inclined to travel and go to these places, commute and beyond. And that's also another interesting thing with the gangs. Someone told me that they had basically war brides. Someone told me that what it used to be like was that if the gang leader likes that woman there, he wants her to be his wife. If she says yes, then welcome to the family. Welcome to the gangster family, the mafia family, the criminal family. If not, wow. That's interesting. And now, because that happened, that's no longer happening. What Naib said a month or 2 or 3 ago at the UN, where he didn't imprison a few thousand people, he set millions free. 6.5 million people, I'm quite sure the population, 6.5 million. He let them free. He unleashed their potential. He unleashed their talents. And we're seeing this. We are seeing this with the people there being able to do more stuff, have more opportunities. People talk about better jobs and more opportunities there. Able to go from being a street merchant and a vendor to going and being an Uber driver. Progress. Because remember also, what's the alternative? I did a video, I'm pretty sure I did a video about this as well. What's the alternative to these different things? This or that, or what's the alternative? You say this, that. So growth and millions really were set free. As I said, once they had solved that security issue, everything else falls into place. Again, it will take years and years, but it's happening. It's happening. And the construction sites from the Airbnb were a good example of this. And that new hospital being built right by the city centre, Rosales, that's a good example as well. A big infrastructure project. Again, I would like to see it underground, but again, that's going to be 10 or so years, and whatever. Well, if it's to be believed. But that powerful stuff, and yeah, I'd like to see it underground, and the average wage. Then generally a more richer society, because then the richer it is, the less people are inclined to be criminals, and generally nicer the place will be. Because as you get richer, your standards go up. You start saying, right, this street dirty, let's repair it. Let's do something about this. Let's sort something out. Things like that. Things happen. So yes, amazing, absolute amazing time overall. Very, very glad I went. And yeah, it's a small world. Yeah. All right. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.